Hello everybody. Hey, I got a quick update on the WLtoys 144001 brushless update that I'm doing, and I'm gonna have to wait on some parts. I'll show you what I got going, and I had some information that somebody was asking about, so I got that thrown in the video too. So and I have another microphone. I've been using an AGD lav mic for, I don't know, since last September, I think. And I wear it on this every day, even when I go to work. And I snagged the cable on something and broke it. So I've got another one ordered since I liked it so much. I'm using this one today, and it appears this thing is actually recording in stereo. So I don't know if that's an asset or not, but I don't know if I move my head over here or if I move my head over here, if it changes what this thing sounds like. Anyway, back onto the upgrade, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got a quick update video on the brushless motor installation on the 144001. And I've got a couple things here. I've got the owner's manual out. One of the fellows was asking what screws to buy to replace. He wants to replace most of the screws in his car instead of using a Phillips, to use the hex screws. And man, there's just so many different sizes. You got the 3x8, and that's 3mm by 8mm in length. 2.5 by 8s, and I mean, you've just 2x6, and there's their flat heads and recessed or countersunk and button heads, and then you've got these that are more of a, they go into the plastic. I always have to chuckle though. They have the gear here. It's called a slow down large, which is actually your spur gear, your reduction gear, but it's a slow down large. I like that. You know, they don't list the tooth pitch in here, and I had some pinion gears at the house, and I was gonna rip the spur gear out so I could try the mesh, and then I got to thinking, well gosh, I've got the original pinion gear. I can just see if these mesh with the original pinion, and they don't. So I don't have a small pinion gear. We'll get into that in just a second. But back on the screws for just a moment. And this is my way of dealing with this. If you're going to be in the hobby for any length of time, it's not a bad investment to go ahead and just buy a whole selection of these things. And I've got these in countersunk. I've got them in button head. And these are the black iron version. And if you like stainless steel, all of these also come in stainless steel. So you got hex nuts if you want to, if your wheels start to come off frequently. You've got the Nylock stainless steel hex nuts, and then you've got all kinds of stainless steel screws if you want those. And these come in button head and the locks at the opposite end. So you just have your assortment of stuff on hand, and most of this stuff I've got a bunch of M3s and a bunch of M4s. These were for another car. I got some countersunk washers if you want to make something look a little neater or what have you. So that's really my recommendation. Just as you get time and get a few extra bucks, same thing with the set screws, grub screws, Allen screws, whatever you want to call them. I've got those in M4 and in M3. So then you've got your typical like chassis screws for your axles and what have you. You know, get a assortment of those. Those are 16mm M3 by 16 with the button heads. So if you're going to get into this stuff, this is really a good thing to do, and get some kind of a little container, put your labels on them. Anyway, so you get the point. When you get a couple of extra bucks, just order this stuff. Try to have it on hand, and if you break something or need to repair something or modify something, it's in stock. Back to the pinion gear. What I have discovered here, I was going to, this has mounting holes for the 380 style motor, but I can't find a 380 pinion, and I can't find where they offer this in a brushless motor, but this motor mount has 2 sets of holes in it. This is a 2845 motor. I could just go ahead and get a 3660 or a 3650 or something and throw in there, and it would use the original holes and it would use the original pinion gear, but that's not what I want to do. I want to try this motor. Got to do it the hard way, I guess. Anyway, I tried a different combination of holes so that I could get this to line up and use the regular spur gear. I tried to get this to line up so I could use the original pinion gear, but I don't have any way to lock the motor in place, and one screw is not going to be enough to hold it. My opinion on this particular setup, it runs a nylon gear on the spur and it runs a metal gear on the pinion. And my particular opinion of why it seems to be so durable, and I've not really seen many people that use the factory motor mount have a problem stripping out the spur gear. But my opinion on that is that because when this is in position, there is a bearing that holds the spur gear, and they're only this far apart. So it holds the spur gear and pinion gear orientation very precisely. There's no deflection. If this bearing weren't here, if you've got enough power over here, you're going to push the spur, and you're going to have more lash than you need right there, and you're going to rip the spur gear right out of the car. So trying to stay with this motor mount is what I'm trying to do right now, and that's the reason for it. It was because I believe the bearing, and I do have a metal spur gear on the way, but because of all of the virus stuff, it's just really, it's taking forever for those parts to come in. So that's where we sit right now. I've got to find a pinion that will either let me use the motor in the other location, or I'm going to have to modify this mount. As you can see, there's no way those are going to line up. These are going to line up with the spur gear. So I'm starting to ramble. I don't have a script on this crazy stuff. So as it sits, I'm waiting until I can find a spur gear of approximately 17 teeth that will line up with the holes for this, so I can use this motor, a 17 tooth pinion, and I forget what the 44, 41, 44 on the spur. I don't remember. Doesn't really matter. This one is a 27, and I want to go down to a 17 with this motor. This is a 3930 kV motor. So until I get another spur gear that meshes, or get frustrated and modify this so that I can line it up and get the bolts in there, I'm just stuck where I am. So if I modify this, I'll show you how I modify it in another video. So that's all I got for now, guys. I appreciate everybody sticking with me. If this made more questions than answers, throw them in the comments and I'll get to them as quick as I can. And I want you to know I'm not getting notifications on a lot of my messages. They're showing up in the comments, but I'm not getting notification. So it takes me a while because I've got to go through practically every video, practically every day to see if I've got anything that I missed. So appreciate everybody's patience. As soon as something comes in, as soon as something changes, I'll get something on this. I was going to run the 14428 today with the axle extenders on it, but the dirt place where I was going to run it is a mud place. We're still having snow melt off here. So Thanks everybody, appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys down the road.